When I discovered that I had a talent for art, I went into it as wanted to be creative. And now that I understand being creative and how creativity can connect with people and bring people together, I look at it as partly my duty to inspire others, to inspire other artists, to inspire people that's not artists. I've always had a saying, and I always go by this saying: it's better to give than receive. I know in my artwork, I'm gonna give more than I ever receive. And guess what? I wouldn't want it any other way. This is Tysen Knight, and this is the art of hustle. This is where I keep a lot of my art, under my bed. See? Here, got pieces of my stencils into here. Cardboard, more poster board that I'm gonna use. Supplies, spray paint cans, more markers and stuff I use to do my art with. Tons and tons of pastels. Pencils, color pencils. I mean, I'm in all genres of this stuff. Got knee pads, you know, all types of stuff. All right, so have to get ready, get out there in the streets, and do some art. I would like for people to connect to their inner child side of themselves, that side of themselves before life got too serious. I think sometimes as humans, as we get older, we kind of lose that childlike quality that we usually have in ourselves because life gets serious, you have children, you do certain things. I like to tap into that part of everyone that has that childlike imagination. I would like my art to take you back to a place that you were at one point in your life. And when you look at the art, you see that place and you feel like, wow, I remember when I was a kid and I had big dreams and aspirations. I got a few artists that inspire me. My top three are Jean-Michel Basquiat, he's one. My number two is Andy Warhol. And my number three is Keith Haring. They all were, well, except for Andy Warhol, they all were graffiti artists coming up in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s. But I also have influences from fine art. Pablo Picasso. He was actually a fine artist, but if you looked at some of his later work, it had a certain graffiti street art style to it. I don't know if he was going that route with it, but for what I see a graffiti art style to some of his later works than more of his earlier works. I applied for a art show in Palm Springs, California at the Desert Art Center. And they said you could submit one piece of artwork. And I've sent a piece of artwork to them. This is a piece that I did. I call this a remixed masterpiece, which means I've taken a famous painting by Picasso named La Revue, and what I did was I took inspiration from his original work and I recreated that, and to me I call it a remixed masterpiece. As I looked on their website for the Desert Art Center, I seen that they're more into fine art, and I'm a street artist. And if I get submitted, if I get chosen, I'll be the first street artist to ever be in this gallery, which would be pretty cool. I mean, that's groundbreaking.
Okay, I could put it in two different categories. I could put a category of necessity, and I could put a category of passion. Necessity, the barbershop. The barbershop is what funds and helps me support my street art, which I enjoy the most. But also, I'm not taking away from barbering because that's sort of an art form as well. Shaping someone's hair, sculpting it, getting it to their perfection, how they like it. I look at that as art form as well. So I have a love for that as well. But the street art, when I'm doing my street art, it's a euphoric feeling where it just takes me to another place. So if I had to rank it, necessity, barbering's up there. Passion, street art is above them all, yeah. They're all pretty much the same, except for pop art is kind of something that is more on the Andy Warhol type side. But the urban art and street art, it just was born of people just, in the inner cities with spray paint cans, and, just call it vandalism. But it spawned from graffiti. So that's a lot of my influence, because when I was a child growing up in New Jersey, I would see all the beautiful art and graffiti and the colors on side of the trains. And that fascinated me to see that on a train. I was like, wow, someone actually did that, and how long did it take them to do that? And that's what made me want to go out and spray on stuff. That was it. I mean, I was hooked. First time I ever seen, I was hooked. My parents took me over to New York City. First time I seen, I was hooked. Actually, what people would do is they would write their name, and someone would do it in bubble letter, block letter. Every person had their different style. Every artist had their different style of how they would express themselves. And they were writing. I couldn't understand a lot of writing because I was so small, but I could just understand the colors and the different textures they used and how they sprayed and how it left any marks. And it's just their color choices was amazing to me. And I was like, wow, this is just some people some artists that just say, you know what, I'm just gonna spray on something. So to see that come alive was like, whoa. Well, they're the same. I mean, they're the same. Graffiti art and street art is the same. The difference with, I say if it is a slight difference with a graffiti artist and a street artist, because street artists could do murals and stuff like that. Graffiti artists, they usually tag names, or they just do throw-ups, which is something you put up really quickly and you move before the police come or anything like that and get in trouble. But I think the lines are so thin that they're pretty much the same. I mean, street artists, graffiti, it's pretty much the same thing. There's really not too much of a difference in between the two of them. They're pretty much the same. I think my mother, she would like me to do art in a more traditional way. When I was a child, she found out I was artistic. She actually tried to put me in art classes. And it just bored me. It just wasn't my thing. I know she tried her best, and she's a great mother for that, but I was just drawn to getting spray paint cans and spraying things. I mean, that was it. It's like, I think, instinctively, as a child, I think you're drawn to writing on things. I mean, the first thing you do, if you give a child a marker, the first thing he's going to do is run to a wall and write on it. I mean, I think it's something instinctively in human nature that we like to write on things. Then you learn, no, that's graffiti, don't do that. Me, I just say, you know what, I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to continue to do it. I look for other street artists and other graffiti artists and see if the area is okay to. It depends on how the law enforcement looks at it. Some places they're a little bit, lax on certain areas. Certain areas they're a little bit more stern on. I mean, I probably couldn't go into Beverly Hills and spray anything up because I'd probably get in trouble very quickly. But I probably can go over to maybe Venice Beach or maybe Compton or somewhere and spray something. I mean, it just depends on the area. None of it is probably legal, but you kind of just know. Like, I just got an eye for which areas to go in and actually do the street art. To put the graffiti up. Yeah, I'm more of a lone wolf when it comes to my street art. I might invite a friend to be a lookout or somebody to just assist me, but for the most part, I try to do it. I'm not involved in any group or of street artists. I think you do have some people that have a team of street artists. I think some people have that, but me, I just kind of do it on my own. I try to be safe and do it in areas where, you know, I'll probably wouldn't get something violent to happen or anything like that, where I'd be safe and I can put a nice piece of artwork up and go on about my business and to let other artists appreciate it and understand, okay, we know that guy's work, that's Tysen's work.
I've been eyeing this billboard for a while now, and just had to wait for the perfect time to go over there and put my brand on it. So hopefully it works out well and no police are there. And I feel like I just need to express myself. You know, art is a very hard business to crack into. It's suffices to say it's a white, more of a white community situation art. So, you know, when you go to different art galleries and you get turned down and no one looks at your work and you know your work is good, you know you got great art, kind of makes you a little upset. So this is kind of just me rebelling and putting my art out there for the world to see my way. Instead of waiting for people to give me a way, I'm gonna make my own way. So that's a part of the reason, but the other reason is just I enjoy it. Been doing graffiti since I was a kid, so I enjoy it. Get a thrill out of it. It's like an adrenaline rush. Plus, it's pretty cool to see your work the next day on a billboard. So, yeah, pretty cool. You know, some people believe it's vandalism, but I look at it a little bit different. I'm not gonna say it's right. I'm not gonna say it's wrong. It's just my way of looking at things. Now I'm gonna go back to my studio and actually put some work on canvas. And just feeling real good right now. Better than drugs. Absolutely. Better than drugs. Blanco is, he's a pretty interesting guy. He's a tattoo artist as well as a graffiti artist. He's a real cool guy. Like I don't usually vibe with a lot of people, and he's one person that I actually vibe with and I actually feel good energy from. So Blanco, he has great energy. I trust his energy and I like his creativity.
My name is Blanco. I tattoo out of Blue Rose Tattoo. I'm a big fan of art. I love graffiti, tattooing, piercing, anything that has to do with art. I like to put my art in the world. It's great seeing people walk with it. What do I think graffiti is? I think graffiti is like expression. I like to go out there and express my feelings. I don't look at it as a legal activity at all. I don't think so. I like art and I like to go out there and show it a lot. I started back in 6th grade at Raymond Cree Middle School, Palm Springs. And ever since that, I started finding out my mom was an artist growing up. So it kind of like encouraged me to like go more and more with it. I started getting really serious with it when I got into AP art in Desert Hot Springs High School. Tanya Jones, she got me to where I'm at. She was my motivation, yeah. She motivated me to like keep on going. And same with my girl. Cause my girl, she's always been in my life too, so she's always told me, like, I always came home and always asked her for her opinion about everything. Blanco, that name came back up. It was in high school. I was kicking it with like a couple knuckleheads, and it was like a little cholo group, and they kind of gave me the name Blanco as in like referring to me as like a white boy. They just always called me Blanco. They were like, Ronnie was a cool name and everything, but they wanted to give me a nickname and it was Blanco. Do I think that graffiti artists and street artists will make good type of money. I think they can. I think we can. I'm a street artist, but it's really hard, especially when you have a lot of negative activity out there and a lot of disrespect from people. It's really hard out there, man, on the streets. Like, people just scratch you out not knowing who you are, not knowing how long you've been grinding for, and it could just be like some new guy that just started on the block. In a couple of words, describe what street art means to me. Respect and love. That's what I look at it as, just respect and love. What do I think about Tysen Knight? He has a heart to go out there and just show the art in the streets. Like, he's all about the love, and he just wants to be out there with us. And Tysen Knight, man, he's a really good guy. He's a homie to me. Do I see Tysen Knight artwork furthering? Yes, I do. Just because of his heart, he has a heart for it. That's all you need. You just have to have the heart, and you can't let no one bring you down. You just got to keep on doing you. And that's what I see Tysen doing.
My name is Steven, and I suppose you could call me Blanco's roommate. I love being roommates with Blanco because he's, like you said, he's eclectic. He's a man of many talents artistically, and even when he, all of my tattoos on my arm, all of my beetle tattoos are from Ronnie, from Blanco, and even when I feel him tatting on my skin, you can tell that he has an end vision in mind, and that vision is very exciting. There are so many courageous artists out there that want to exhibit their ideas and their feelings and their opinions and their artistry in general for the general public. Banksy himself talks about how, he wants his art to be exhibited by all, that it's truly, uniquely a public phenomenon. And I think that's beautiful, and I hope it continues, and I think it will continue. Tysen's amazing. You can sort of get a hint at where he's thinking artistically, but at the same time, there's still plenty of room for you to put your own perspective into. And for that, I love Tysen. I think that's uniquely Tysen right there.
I'm feeling so accomplished right now, so blessed right now, man. I actually got accepted. I got accepted for the Desert Art Center Palm Springs art show. First street artist to be accepted. Holy shit. I'm in, man. All the hard work, all the blood, sweat, and tears. It came to this moment where I'm just feeling thankful. I'm feeling blessed. I think from this point on, I think it's up from here. I mean, that's the essence of my documentary. It's called The Art of Hustle. And the art of hustle is to create, appreciate, and elevate. And I don't even know how to put this into words. I mean, I just can't, I don't know, man. I just feel very blessed. Sometimes I feel a little unworthy, but I know I'm not going to take this for granted. I'm going to represent for those who don't get this opportunity. And I want to shine a light on the people that's less fortunate, the ones not seen. My art is for them. What I do is for them. So it's on. It's on.
Dimitri Halkidas. What do I do? Well, I live currently in Palm Springs. I relocated here from LA in 2009. I'm an artist, photographer, and about 5 years ago when I moved here, I started an anti-bullying organization. But my full-time job was a gallerist. I owned Gallery 446. The art of hustle is, I would believe, more of a urban term of really building your brand and really bringing out the art that's today's artist. I mean, that's what I see. When I see art of hustle, it almost brings me back to the 70s of truth and that really expressing yourself. You know, the art of hustle is like, you know, I grew up in that era, so that was a whole new change of life. So I believe the art of hustle is that coming full circle around to bringing that identity of art. You know, being in New York, I actually was really inspired from Basquiat, there was Keith Haring, just numerous. And also actually the most inspiring was a street artist that I would see, the graffiti that it was called in my era, when I would ride the train from Connecticut because I commuted. So I would ride the train to New York and I would be so inspired, like at looking out the window and looking at the art, and it was just fantastic. And also a lot of those artists that were graffiti artists are famous now. Instead of walls, I mean on buildings, meaning, they get commissioned now to do that, you know? So it's really has gone, God, full circle. The genre of artwork at Gallery 446 was very, very different, you know, being in Palm Springs. It was a very different art, it was very challenging, and also very courageous of me to take a chance because I didn't conform with the regular palm trees and just, which is beautiful, but I wanted to showcase just a different, diverse art of artists that I loved. Some were friends, it was now street art, but some were beautiful paintings and drawings. I love charcoal and I love photography, you know, I'm a photographer. And actually the gallery started as a photography studio for me, but then it evolved to showcasing, like I said, friends' art, and I actually have artists that work on recyclable. Now, are they homeless? They just can't afford canvases, you know, because they have to pay rent, they have to pay electric, they have to pay their phone bill. So, you know, where's there room for canvas? To me, that's street art. You're using cans or you're using wood, and I have a recent, in the 25 Below, one of the artists used recyclable, and I love that. I love that you can take, I would have probably thrown it out and never looked at it again, but I love to see another person's interpretation. Style of branding is very important, and this took me a long time as a photographer to really grasp, because you want to work, you want to sell art, so you're going to please and conform who you're selling to. That's a mistake. Yes, you'll get your quick fix and your quick buck, but I think what happens is you're limiting yourself to really develop where you should be and where your longevity is going to take you. So having that identity and that branding is very important. I used to shoot bodybuilders, horses, homes, models, fashion. So my book would almost have a little bit of everything in there. And clients would be like, so I know you're a good photographer, but I don't know what you're really shooting. So that might, I'm like, they're crazy. I don't know what they're talking about. But no, I'm crazy because I didn't really listen. You know, and it's not one time, two times, I got a lot. But then I start listening and kind of putting a genre together that identified my style.
My name is Theron Ruiz, and I like to collect modern art and street art.
My name is Anastasia Herbar, and I like to collect street art.
I think street art has more personality behind it. You can see pain, you can see love, you can see, you know, the road, the journey that they've been on, and it really expresses, you know, more of the person's soul than just, you know, what they're thinking and how they're feeling.
I collect street art because I think it's very unique. It's a different style of art, and I think it expresses emotion and a lot of the person's unique traits.
We're engaged, you know, we got our wedding coming up and everything, and you know, we're starting a new chapter of our lives. And really in the first chapter of our lives, you know, the first big thing we did together was we got a house, you know, and the first thing we wanted to do at the house is put our personality on it. And I think the street art that we, picked up from Tysen Knight exactly represented what we wanted to do. And I felt like we connected on another level, and being able to connect with somebody and then connect with their artwork really, symbolizes something, pretty deep, When I seen it, I was actually really surprised. He told me he was an artist. I checked out his artwork, and I was just like, boom, that's it. That's what we need. I showed my girl, and she's like, I love it. Let's go with that. And I'm like, yeah.
It definitely was an amazing and unique piece of art, and I knew that that's what we had to have in our house, because when we moved into this place, I wanted to have this place be modern and contemporary and something that is very unique, not like everybody else has. And so when I saw that piece, I knew that we had to have it.
I bought it because I really loved the piece, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, I go, why do I want this piece? What is this piece? How does it represent me? And I look at it and I look at, like, everybody says, well, I don't want to do it, I don't want to be popular and this and that, but I want my friends to be jealous, they ain't gonna have a piece like that, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna have that piece exactly, for sure. And so I know having that one piece, it goes up in value to me no matter what. So that's why I got it. We head down to Venice Beach quite a bit, and we love going down there. The atmosphere, the artwork, that street art. Even like the sand sculptures, the graffiti on the walls, the gym out there and everything. It's just beautiful, you know what I mean? I love how they have the buildings covered with a bunch of different art and everything, and they let people express themselves out there, and that feels free, you know what I mean? To me, that's freedom, and that freedom to be able to express yourself, I think that's everything, being, a human being.
Street art means to me just emotion, a lot of emotion that's built up in yourself, and it doesn't have to be sad or bad. It could be just happiness and excitement, but a lot of people cannot express, like for instance myself, there's a lot of times where I cannot express how I feel about certain things, and for people that do street art or graffiti, that's their way of taking it out. And for me, it is in the gym. For me, it's being an athlete and working on myself and working with him. That's my way of taking it out. And for others, it's art. For some, it's music.
I think, there's bad types and there's good types. There's bad types as in it's like gang related and stuff like that, and there's hate behind it, you know what I mean? When there's love, you could never go wrong, you're going to love expressing yourself, and truly showing yourself as a person. It's going to be beautiful no matter what, if it's just to that one person, to 5 people or 2,000 people that get to see it, you know what I mean? But I think there's different types, and to me, I think it's all beautiful, being able to see all this different artwork. When they really put their effort into it and you see different, really like vibrant colors and different, characters. I like to see a lot of facial portraits and stuff like that, and like that's badass right there. I don't think I've seen street art, but I've seen graffiti in places it shouldn't have been. I think street artists have enough respect to go into the places that it is accepted, because they don't want their stuff covered up. They're gonna put their time and effort into it. I don't think they want to cover it up. If they're gonna do it in the right place, they're gonna do it in the right place. Taggers are a little bit different. You know what I mean? They want everybody to see it. They want to see people that don't want to see it to see it. I think people just have a misrepresentation of what they want to do with themselves. They're lost, you know what I mean? I've been down a long road that's been pretty troubled and everything, and I can tell you from my experience myself, I was lost during those times when I was doing shit that I shouldn't have been doing just because I didn't know what I was doing. Once you find yourself and you're doing the right thing, I think that's where street art comes in too, because there's taggers that went from tagging and doing bad, tags to doing beautiful murals and shit like that, and that's really the beauty of the thing, is when someone transitions and you can see that transition in their artwork and see them grow as a person. Tysen Knight street art means to me, there's a lot of courage, there's a lot of soul behind it, I can feel it through the expression of colors, and a lot of personality.
Tysen Knight's art means to me, it represents a lot of strength to me. When I see it, I see strength, and I see just a lot of different emotions from different parts of his life.
Well, right now we're on the 10 freeway. We're on our way to Venice Beach. I'm gonna go out there and put up some street art, talk to other street artists, get their feel for, how they hustle and sell their artwork on Venice Beach. Venice Beach is one of my favorite places because there's a lot of art there. It's a lot of
culture, a lot of different, walks of life. You got interesting people, strange people. It's just so many facets and walks of life on Venice Beach. So I'm gonna go. I like to frequent there a lot and go down there, and put street art up and just meet cool people, creative people. I know a few people there, but I mean, you just meet people on your journey. As you go, you just kind of just meet people, and that's the beauty of going around the country and doing graffiti and painting, being creative. You get to meet other interesting, creative people. So I kind of like not knowing people, because not knowing people, you get a better chance to get different perspectives of different types of people. I'm a people person, so I talk to people, and I like that. I like meeting people. I'm an open-minded person. I like to, create, talk to other people, and get insight. That's how you learn and you get better at your craft.
This is the SDP Foundation. We've been having this walls for about 3 years now. Our crew comes here every weekend. We have to be here every weekend. We have to take care of the walls. We have to make sure that everything runs smoothly and nobody's vandalizing, nothing like that. It used to be like a barbecue spot, and then all the sand just came through, and then since it used to be like back in the day like a real bad spot, they shut it down and everything. Like a few years back, the city brought it back, put sand over it, and they just let people paint it. We do have people that, from being a graph artist, they turn into tattoo artists, and then like you have bigger people that do murals that go to like different countries and stuff like that. I've been with them for 3 years, and it's fantastic, bro. I'm over here just like walking around, make sure everything's okay, make sure everything's fine. And if cops do come, I just have to talk to them. I'm from the foundation and everything, and I just have to call up the person to make sure, so that the officers won't get all mad and start tripping about stuff. The organization is STP Foundation, and we take care of the walls at Venice Beach.
Well, I went down to the Venice art wall at Venice Beach, and put some of my art up on the art wall they have there. Like, they have a wall where street artists can go and express themselves without, getting in trouble. You can go there and, express yourself artistically and creatively without getting, harassed or detained or arrested by the police, where they actually, which I think is a good thing that the police did that, and Venice Beach is doing that and giving, street artists and graffiti artists, a platform to express themselves. Number one, it helps the community, because when I was there, I seen a lot of tourists with their cameras, taking in the beautiful work, because there was a lot of amazing artists out there putting up artwork. I put up a piece. Had a few onlookers that were interested in what I had going on, and I explained to them, and it feels good when people admire your work and see your vision of your artwork. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I like doing those type of things, going to Venice art wall and putting up nice pieces, as well as doing them in my studio. It was very interesting to me that when I was talking to other street artists, they never get paid for their work. They're so passionate about it that they're doing it for free. That's interesting to me because I've actually sold. I was blessed enough to be able to sell artwork and also do street art. So that was kind of humbling and eye-opening for me to see that my peers that share the same passion and love as I do are not seeing any monetary gain or any money from it. And I was blessed enough to see money from it. And I just want to encourage them to keep going, as well encourage myself to keep going. So I mean, it was definitely worth it. It's been a long day. We've been going around putting up stickers and repping the Tysen Knight, the brand, my artwork, and just doing what we have to do. I met a homeless artist. His name was Scratch. Now, to me personally, he's probably, I'm not going to say probably, he is the most fascinating artist that I've had the pleasure of actually being on this documentary with me. Just based off the love of the passion of art. I mean, being a homeless man and still with all that adversity and all those things against you to still have the love to create. It's fascinating to me. I think about him probably every day and how he was so creative and he was so articulate in how he spoke and explaining his art and how he doesn't look for anything perfect. He wants imperfection in his work.
I started drawing when I was 3 and about till, say, 12, I drew exactly the way I draw now, which was psychedelic. And got introduced to pastels and acrylics, and I did portraitures, facial features. I did them fantastic. I learned them in a week. The gentleman was Walter Gutierrez, who worked for Disney, who taught me. And I got out, and I went back to my same old tricks. And then I got divorced, cracked up, and so here I am. And I picked up my art again. And the funny thing about it is, since I was about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I just grew these fantasy hallucinations. And I kept to myself because I didn't want nobody to see that. It's a little elaborate. But that's, after all, that's just the way I really do my art. This would be the concept of having colors within a range. And the range would be complementary to what you're doing. Basically, the frame is gold and it's in X form. And the patterns I like because they're different than the actual complexion of the movement inside the artwork. I gather no shame. I pick up all the interesting pieces I can. Those pearls, the rocks, right here that glisten. They gotta glisten. And then the paints I get at Michael's. They're not out there, but pretty much between revivals, where I get my frames, or I find frames out in the desert, and I don't want anything perfect. Because to me, for what I do, perfection is best sought after by imperfection. Tysen Knight, let me tell you, is a fabulous street artist. Catch one of his pieces.
I would say him being homeless Scratch being homeless does help his creativity, and I got one reason why I feel that way. Because when you're not worrying about materialistic things and the American dream and keeping up with the Joneses and driving a big fancy car and the rat race of having money, I think things in life become a little simpler. And I think one thing he told me that resonated with me was that he would walk through the desert and find old frames and use those frames, then go to Michael's and get paint on discarded frames someone thought was ugly and didn't want. And in that ugliness, he's seen creativity, he's seen beauty. And to me, you can only see that with a clear mind. You can't see that when you're in the rat race of society, trying to keep up with materialism. You can't possibly see that stuff because you're so busy, distracted, looking over here. So, yeah, I think him being homeless does help his creativity because you're starting from scratch. Victoria Black. Victoria Black is
an artist who specializes in cubism. She grabs a lot of inspiration from Picasso. And I like her colors because I use a lot of colors in my artwork as well. So the reason I selected her to be in this documentary is because of the fact that she did her cubism, these colors, on buildings. So to me, that qualifies you to be a street artist as far as I'm concerned, because it's done on the streets.
So my artist name is Victoria Black. There's a couple of reasons for that. And one of them is Victoria's my real name, and then I have a really long Spanish name, Victoria Carmen Ramirez Martinez. So it goes on and on and on. And people ask me sometimes, okay, what's your favorite color, you know? So I tell them, well, black is the absence of light. So, or it's a color that's outside of the light spectrum, you know? So I really enjoy that about the color. And also I have a really long time love for heavy metal music and black metal. My preferred medium is charcoal and pastel, a little bit of ink. I've built my signature work around that. I'm calling it abstract cubism, though I know that's not really like a figurative form of art or anything, but I'm calling it abstract cubism because it's really abstract and there's no real figuratism to it, and it's very loose, and I use the cube a lot, so I'm calling it cubism. You know, as an artist, even an artist with such a long, I would say a little bit of a career under my belt, I still have to have a 9-to-5 job, you know. So making art, especially Los Angeles and these places where there's tons of artists, everybody wants to get their name out there. It's a little bit tricky because you have to be really good at marketing. You have to have your promotion. You have to be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you know, and the people that are successful is because they're really good at the marketing skills and networking and this type of thing. So definitely to make a living, I believe you really have to define a signature for yourself, something that really defines your own personal style, something that people could take a look at your artwork down the line and be like, oh, that's Victoria Black, that's Tysen Knight, that's Picasso, that's, you know, that type of thing. One thing that I really, really enjoy about Tysen Knight and is that he's built a signature style as well. I really enjoy, like Miro, reminds me a little bit of Miro because of the colors that Tysen uses. The red, the primary, the yellow, the blue. And not only has he built his own signature style, something that you could recognize, but also he has a really nice combination of like modern pop and the classic old masters. There's this painting by Tysen that I really enjoy by Picasso, The Dream, the painting The Dream by Picasso, and he does it in his own way, giving it his own artist flavor that really brings back the piece to life in a nice way. There's another painting that I really enjoy, One-Eyed Kitty. So One-Eyed Kitty is, you could see some of the pop icons, Hello Kitty and the pirate and the flowers and roses and this type of thing. And it gives you a different view of how you could take certain elements that are big in pop culture and blend them together to build something that's still signature artwork. There's a lot of deep story behind my artwork that's hidden behind there. So as an artist, you try to represent like the unseen and this type of thing. But I have a great vision that within my artwork, because it's a geometric and mathematical thing, it would be great if I could develop it into theory of quantum physics and particle mechanics and this type of thing. But as long as Victoria Black makes a statement with the artwork and it could be defined and it could eventually be in well-known museums, that's a big goal for me. The art of hustle has a little bit of several meanings to me. Like the title itself, The Art of Hustle, that says, what does art usually invoke? Art is supposed to invoke like what's out there, what's the meaning of things, how can I represent this, and giving people a different view or an emotion and an open window to creativity or somebody else's creativity. And the art of hustle, just the name says, okay, you as an artist need to find every single way and any which way to really hustle to get your name out there.
My name is Robbie Sherwin, and I am a commissioner on the Public Arts Commission for Cathedral City, California. I'm a photographer and a writer. We moved back to the Valley here from Portland, Oregon a little over a year ago. So I've been hanging in galleries and part of artist collectives for many years. And as a photographer, sort of wander around my environment, seeing the world through a lens finder. So when this opportunity came up with a vacancy on the Public Arts Commission, I sort of jumped on it and asked if I could be a member. We're not that big a city, but for the Valley, we're a fairly good-sized chunk of the population, and we have a 7-member Public Arts Commission that is tasked with going out and pulling disparate areas of the city and disparate types of art together and getting it accessible to the public. As public art has emerged, from tagging to street art to murals, there's been a learning curve that other cities have gone through. When you put a mural on the side of a building, you have a bunch of rights to consider. The artist has rights to his image or her image. The building has rights to the use of their building. And there's a classic case in Los Angeles of a mural artist who painted a mural on the side of a building, and a number of years went by, the building was sold, the new owner wanted to tear it down and rebuild, so he did. And the artist happened to still be alive, and when his mural was torn down, he sued and won over $1 million for them not consulting him about his mural. So one of the things I've learned is the best piece of advice somebody gave me was put your public murals on wheat cloth so that they're removable. They can be taken down and cleaned and refreshed and moved if they have to be, if the building changes ownership and something happens to it. And in accordance with taking it down and cleaning, then you also have to have a very long-range plan for maintenance of murals, because if they start to degrade over time, you have to refresh them, and that has to be done in conjunction with the artist and with a specific type of paint that's in the desert a lot more resilient than in most other places. I think that the perception by the public, and I'm the public in many other things, is, oh, okay, go out and do it. Pass the law, enact it, fund it, whatever you need to do. Well, each of those things has to be very carefully considered, and the timeline for murals has stretched out now to decades in terms of budgeting for maintenance. And say it gets tagged by gang artists or just plain taggers who go out. We have to have a way to repair that, and that's a budget line item that we have to somehow account for all the way along the line. Say the paint fades and it starts looking ratty. We'll get complaints from the public saying, that tired old mural is looking ratty, what are you going to do about it? Well, we have to have a budget to do something about that. And we have to be in contract with the artist to do something about that. I think graffiti is something that's done in the dead of night on other people's property without their permission. That action of defacing somebody else's property speaks for itself. I think there's then another level of street art which sprang from tagging and graffiti, but became something more than that. I think if you look at some of the most incredible street art is on railroad cars in old. If you watch a train go by, particularly out west here where they have these long expanses of train cars, these cars are like moving museums. They're fascinating to me. It's not exactly tagging or graffiti. It's something more than that. I'm not sure how I feel about that per se, but I find that fascinating. And then you come to murals, which is an entirely different thing, as we've been talking about. The process for getting a mural up is long and involved. There's a lot of legal ramifications that have to be considered. And with artists becoming more famous, like Banksy and some of these other public artists, there's money involved. People make money on murals. And they can also be done for free and in memoriam. And you go up to 29 Palms and they have a lot of murals to fallen soldiers. So there's a lot of different layers to this onion. There's an interesting leap happening between gallery art and street art. And I think there's a gentleman named Tysen Knight who's made this leap from gallery artist with showings in Palm Springs currently, to mural artist who's doing actual murals on the streets in Indio and other cities around the area. So that to me is the prime example of the forward motion of art from gallery artist to street artist. And back again, I think that there's an interplay that can go back and forth between those two things. And promoting both is a good way of educating the public and maybe allowing them to see street art in a little bit different fashion. Tysen Knight's art, as I said before, is the perfect transition and marriage between gallery art and street art. He's combining the two, and he's blending back and forth between different venues. And in doing that, Tysen is approaching wider audiences. He's getting audiences in galleries that wouldn't necessarily be paying any attention to street art, whether it's murals, graffiti, or tagging. And as a street artist doing murals, I can probably guarantee that a lot of the young people who look at his murals, which are vibrant and brilliant, don't realize that he's also a gallery artist with great shows. So Tysen's the kind of perfect marriage between these two venues right now, and I would hope that there are more people like him that see the potential to bounce back and forth in different worlds.
The reason I chose that particular piece I call the remixed masterpiece. It's my take on Picasso's La Revue. And the reason I chose that particular art piece is because I think that art piece not only speaks to street art, but I think also collectors of fine art will appreciate that piece. I mean, I think it crosses all genres of art. And I think that, I could capture a bigger audience with that particular piece than more of my street art pieces that I do. I think that one with the play on Picasso and the colors, and it could be street art, or it could be fine art, or it can be modern art. I mean, I think that it fits in all genres of art. So I selected that piece, and I think it's a pretty cool piece too. I enjoy doing that piece. I think it'll look good on someone's wall, and I think they'll appreciate it and pass it down for generations to come.
Okay, Tysen came by our gallery, I believe last spring or early October, and wanted to join our gallery to be able to show his work. And so we explained our jury process, where about 50 people are applied for being artists, and Tysen applied, and out of 50 people, about 15 were accepted as new jury members, and he was one of them.
I don't even know how to put into words how I felt about my art show. Being the first time that my work was displayed for hundreds of people to see, it kind of was a surreal moment for me. I think it was other things that worked there. I mean, I think the universe and something was there guiding me, I felt.
because I'd never been in that type of situation before where I had to display my art to hundreds of people or be in front of hundreds of people and know how to interact in that circle. I'm used to going in vacant buildings and putting up graffiti and street art and dealing with that genre of people, you know, what I'm comfortable with. The art show was amazing. I'm just so blessed and so thankful that I had the opportunity to be a part of something big like that. And I just feel like that's just confirmation for me to keep going. Sky's the limit. Your art is for millions and millions of people to see and for people to enjoy. Even when I'm dead and gone, my artwork should be a representation of something positive on this planet. Sometimes in life, you're born into situations where you have no control over. But I'm here to tell you, Tysen Knight is here to tell you, your creativity, your perseverance, and more importantly, your hustle will make you the artist you want to be. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Master the art of hustle, and you master your life. This is Tysen Knight, and this is the art of hustle.